Good morning, everybody. Happy Easter. I gotta say, after 2 years of having Easter services only online, it's kind of nice to be in the same room together, isn't it? And I'm especially happy to see that after 2 years of you all attending Easter services in your sweatpants, some of you all remembered how to tie a tie. You're looking snazzy. I see some Easter dresses out there. Reverend Wendy, this is a good-looking crowd, is it not? Amen. It's a good-looking crowd here this morning. Even I got a little dressed up. I have a stole on. That doesn't usually happen. So I just want to take this moment to say good morning and happy Easter. Now go home. See, I get no respect. No one listens to anything I say. But if that strikes you as a strange and a startling kind of message to hear on Easter morning, I want you to imagine just how much stranger and more startling that message would be if you added to it an earthquake and a shiny little angel. Because I want to be perfectly clear here, that is not my Easter message, but rather that is the very first message that the resurrected Jesus Christ had for his disciples. Good morning, happy Easter, now go home. Am I paraphrasing here? Yes, I am, but not a whole heck of a lot. Because in that story that we just heard read from chapter 8 of the Gospel of Matthew, here is what we just heard happened on that first Easter morning. We were told that two women, both named Mary, were on their way to the tomb where Jesus' body had been laid to rest. And as they were approaching that tomb, we're told that the ground under their feet began to shake. Because at that very moment, an angel of the Lord had appeared and was rolling aside the stone that had been sealing the tomb in which Jesus' body had been interred. And that angel, that plucky little angel apparently tuckered out from his exertions, he plopped himself down. Did you catch that detail? He sat on top of the stone that he had just rolled away from the tomb. And upon seeing this angel, face like lightning, clothes white as snow, upon seeing this angel, the Roman soldiers who had been guarding the tomb, big strapping fellas who knew their way around a sword, these big strapping Roman soldiers fainted. That's in the story. That's the truth. But those women, those faithful followers of Jesus, they stood tall. And the angel of the Lord said unto these women, he said, go and tell the disciples that Jesus Christ has indeed been raised from the dead. So of course, the women went and did exactly that. When you get instructions from an angel, you follow those instructions. So they were rushing off to tell the disciples that message, and along their way, they were met by none other than the freshly resurrected Jesus Christ himself, who said to them, go and tell the disciples to go to Galilee, because there is where I am going to meet them. Go to Galilee, because there is where I'm going to meet them. So just to orient ourselves a little bit, where this little conversation between the resurrected Jesus and these two Marys is taking place is Jerusalem. And we have to keep in mind that for first century Palestinian Jews like Jesus, like these two Marys, Jerusalem was the center of everything. It was the seat of both governmental and religious authority. It's kind of like Washington, D.C. and the Vatican combined into one, though not nearly so corrupt as that comparison might suggest. But more importantly even, we need to know that the temple was located in Jerusalem. And for first century Palestinian Jews, the temple was where all important spiritual matters took place in your life. It was at the temple that the high priest of the Jewish faith lived and presided. It was to the temple that you would go several times a year to celebrate the high holy days. And it was at the temple that you would make the animal sacrifices that would once again make you right with God. Which is all to say, if you're going to do something big, if you're going to, let's say, start a religious movement, Jerusalem was the place that you would want to start it. But Jesus' first message to his disciples isn't to stick around Jerusalem and hobnob with the rich and powerful because it's a super important and super spiritual place. No. Jesus' first message to his disciples is to go to Galilee, and there is where I'll meet you. Now, if Jerusalem was the center of government and the center of religion, Galilee, which was about a 3 days journey due north of Jerusalem, Galilee was the center of, whatever it is that peasants do. Galilee was the center of subsistence agriculture. It was the center of being oppressed by occupying forces. It was the center of scraping just to get by. To be sure, Galilee was not much to write home about. But for the disciples, Galilee was home. It's where they're from. Jesus is sending them home. Good morning, says the resurrected Jesus. Happy Easter. Now go home, because there is where I'm going to meet you. Friends, can you feel how big that is? Jesus sending his disciples home. Jesus sending his disciples back to what is known and familiar. Sending them back to what is ordinary and routine. Sending them back into the rhythms of everyday life and saying, there is where I'm going to meet you. Can you feel how revolutionary that is? That's big. That's really big. That's a big deal. Because the Easter message, as we are hearing it articulated in the Gospel of Matthew, is that there is no longer any distinction between what happens in Jerusalem and what happens in Galilee. There is no longer any distinction between what happens in the temple and what happens in your home. There is no longer a distinction between your spiritual life and the rest of your life. Rather, the Easter message, as we hear it being articulated today in the Gospel of Matthew, is that now, everything, all of it, all of life is now a spiritual and holy thing. As the pastor and the poet and the author Rob Bell likes to put it, because of Easter, you no longer have a spiritual life, but you are a spiritual life. And what that means for us, what that means is that all the little choices we make every day about how we carry out our day-to-day existence, those are now spiritual choices we are making. How we choose to react to the constant nagging and needling and nitpicking of that know-nothing, do-even-less boss of ours at work. That is a spiritual choice, Jesus is saying. If we choose to throw a tantrum when we're asked to wear masks in public spaces, that is a spiritual choice you are making, and aside from the pastor, a dumb spiritual choice that you are making. who you choose to date, who you choose to marry, and who you choose to kick to the curb like last week's garbage. Those are all spiritual choices that you are making. How you spend your money. That $10, 2,500 calorie venti double shot caramel macchiato frappuccino that you buy every day on your way to work. That is a spiritual choice you are making. That generous check with lots of zeros on the end that you write out to your local church. That's a spiritual choice that you are making, and one that I thank you for. What you do with your free time. If you spend your Tuesday nights gulping down martinis, tuning into Bravo to watch The Real Housewives of New Jersey, it is a spiritual choice you are making. Should you go to Michigan State or the University of Michigan? Should you work at Arby's or at Wendy's? Should your next car be a Focus or a Ferrari? These are all spiritual choices. And what the Easter message is telling us this morning is that now every little choice we make in our homes and in our everyday lives, those are all places where Jesus wants to meet us. And what all that means is that every little choice we make is an opportunity for us to let the love and the mercy, the justice and compassion with which Jesus lived, for which Jesus died, and by which Jesus was resurrected, every little choice we make is now an opportunity to let that love and that mercy, that justice and compassion reign in our lives or not. Good morning, says the resurrected Jesus. Happy Easter. Now go home, because there is where I'm going to meet you. Amen.